Hello ladies and gents. In the previous video we have seen how to bind an aggregation programmatically using binding templates. Another option to programmatically bind an aggregation is to use factory functions. And they provide more flexibility since we have access to the context of every entry. So we can set different properties to the controls we want to use or even return a different control altogether. Let's see how that would work. Let's go back to our app and to work list controller, and let's go all the way down and here create our factory function. Let's name it create list item, and every factory function gets two arguments by default. First one is the ID that we need to set to the control we return, and the second one is the context to access the data of every entry. So let's call that all context. And from here we will simply return our column list item. So we say return new column list item. And like I said, we have to set the ID as our first ID argument. And for the rest I will just copy from our template from here. Also need to include the cells. I think should be until here. Let's see, yes. And let's paste everything here. Okay, this is not necessary, and if we save, we no longer need this binding with our template here, so let's get rid of this. Okay, and here let's remove this part, and now we need a binding path for our list. So let's go to our view, and in here let's add items equals, and has to be an object. First one is the path, which is /products, and now we have a factory function, so we say factory will be dot, and I believe it was underscore create list item. Let's save, and I think we also had some expand parameters. Let's check what they were. Category and supplier. Now if we save and go back to our app, we can see that everything is working. So we have just did what we did in the previous lesson, just using a factory function instead of a binding template. Now let's take advantage of the fact that we have access to the binding context of every item and display an icon instead of the unit price for the discontinued items. So if it's discontinued, it doesn't make any sense to display a unit price. And how we can do that is, let's go back to our factory function here. And first we need to decide if this product is discontinued or not. So here let's create a boolean, const be discontinued equals, and we can access it easily from our context dot get property, and the property was named, I believe, just discontinued. And let me copy this. Now in here, when we return the price, let's add a ternary expression. If the product is discontinued, we will return a new icon. Let's import that quickly from SAP UI core icon. Right here, let's go back and we will set the source as sap-icon : / cancel. And if the product is not discontinued, we will again display the unit price. And now if we check our app, now we can see this icon instead of the unit price only for discontinued products. As I mentioned before, we can even return different controls as long as they are valid controls for the aggregation, of course. And to demonstrate this, let's quickly convert our table to a list first, because for our table we have to return a column list item. Now let's make this a list. And this is auto updated. We don't need the columns now. Let's remove those. And now instead of a column list item, let's return an object list item. And for that we have the type, we have press event, we don't have cells of course. So let's set the title. So the product name. And next we have description. And let's set the description as category. And next let's add our status with the first status aggregation. And we will return new object status. Let's just copy it from here. Okay, and we have our number and number unit. Our number will be units in stock, so just this part here. And the unit, actually it's called number unit. And here we can simply say in stock. Now let's delete our cells. And now we should have a valid object list item. Let's check. Looks like we have an error. Let's see. Object list item is not defined. Need to import it, of course. Let's do it here. Now if we save, we should see our list exactly. Description is missing, maybe I misspelled that. Description looks fine actually. There is no description for object list item. Let's check. Properties, icon, intro, we have the intro. Yes, we actually have attributes that we can use as a description. So here, let's say attributes, and we create a new object attribute. I believe it was called. Let's quickly check that as well. And it has, let's see, a title and a text. For the title, let's say category. And as for our text, we can use our binding. And let's remove this. And let's import our attribute control as well. Add it here after object list item. Okay. And now when we check, okay, this looks better. Now, as we mentioned, let's go back and return a standard list item with a warning for discontinued items. we already have our be discontinued here, and before we return, let's add an if statement here, and we say if be discontinued is true, we return a new standard list item instead of an object list item. And let's import it before we forget. Here, and as for the content, first we need our ID or our control, and here first let's add an icon, sap icon / alert, and let's add a title as our product name again. Then let's add some info string. This item is no longer available. And let's give it an info state as warning. And else we will again return our object list item. And we close the if statement, save, and now check our app again. For the discontinued products, we should see a different control. Let's see what the error is this time. Okay, I see what I did wrong. I forgot the new keyword here. Now we check again. And we see our products, and if there is one which is no longer available, we see a standard list item which looks like this. That would be all for this video. Thank you all for watching, and see you at the next one.